Hello, I'd just like to do a video on my Iron Age Celtic impression, one piece at a time. Some time ago you might remember that I did a slideshow depicting my impression, and that obviously wasn't quite detailed, so I'd like to achieve that in this video and just discuss what each piece is, where it comes from, who made it, and why I felt like it was a good fit for the impression. Most of the items you see here are from Etsy. In fact, everything you see here is from Etsy, except for the sword. But we will discuss that last. I suppose we can start with the tunic, made by Gabby. She has a store on Etsy called Finsterbusch Kleider. She is German. She is excellent at what she does, and a quick story about this tunic. I had my eyes on it for a couple years. I really wanted this tunic, but at the time that I first caught notice of it, I was heavily saving, very, very dedicated to saving. I'm still saving now, but not as intensely. So I said, there's no way I'm going to invest in something like this at the moment. And I was like, that's a shame because it's going to be gone later. Well, I actually waited a couple years and went back on her site, and to my surprise, it was still there. I was very surprised that no one had gotten it. This is a beautiful, beautiful tunic. Let me just move the belt out of the way. The thing about it is, the colors are very faint, and I actually like that from a distance. In fact, if you move far enough back, it just looks like a plain brown tunic. The closer you get, and no picture and no video can do it justice to how many colors are in here. You have blues and greens, you have a cyan, you have a deeper blue, you have a green like this, which is why I actually chose these particular trousers. It's just absolutely gorgeous. This doesn't look very different at all from tunics that would have been worn throughout the Iron Age by both Celtic and Germanic communities, and it fits excellently. It's not, too small that a belt wouldn't look right on it, but it's also long enough that it can be considered a tunic and that a belt looks proper over it. So it's the perfect balance, really. And I really, really like this. Thank you, Gabby. The next item I purchased is this fine example of an Iron Age belt made by Per. He has a store on Etsy called Per Paris, and his store is located in Diepolswalde, Germany. It's just very, very excellent. The quality in both the forging on the buckle and the leather work is just outstanding. And these style belts would have been used in both Northern European communities as well as mainland Celtic communities. So it's not just a Northern European thing exclusively, not just a Germanic thing exclusively. And this style of hook would have actually carried on into the medieval period. So, you've probably seen something like this before used in eras such as the Viking Age. So yeah, I happened to fit on the last hole here, so that was lucky. If I had worse luck, I would have just punched another one, but still, very lucky indeed, and an excellent belt. Looks great against the tunic. The next item on the list are these beautiful wool trousers from the Perkele shop on Etsy, made by Alicia, a very kind Polish woman. I got these for way less than I could have. Honestly, it was a bargain. Way less than they're probably worth. So, thank you, Alicia. I truly love these. Again, I selected these because of the green color matches perhaps the faintest color in this tunic, which is a green that matches this almost exactly. Even though it's the faintest in the pattern, it still looks great overall with this tunic, at least I think. The trousers were the piece of the impression that took the longest for me to figure out. I looked at tons and tons of pairs, a big variety of prices, some huge contrasts and price differences, until I ultimately decided I wanted to go with solid color because I had already selected the plaid tunic. I just think it looks best. I also looked at a lot of reenactment photos just to double check that this would be accurate. You know, this pattern here, and it actually is. I checked with a lot of reenactment groups, and I found that really the best reenactment groups out there, some located in France, some in the British Isles, use this pattern. So thank you again, Alicia, for these trousers. Going back to the belt just for a minute, I forgot to mention that Pierre, who sold this to me, saw my review that I posted on his Etsy page using this tunic and asked me if he could use that photo as one of the images for the listing, which this belt is no longer available on his store. At least it's not showing up for me. But we got to talking, and I said, if you like the tunic, you should check out the page of the seller who makes it. She's fantastic at what she does. And he said, oh yeah, I know Gabby. We used to work together. So that was interesting. Two fellow Germans making high quality traditional European products. Next up is an item also made by Pierre on his store Paris. It is a hand-forged Celtic knife. Now I say Celtic, but really this style of knife would have been used by Iron Age communities all over mainland Europe, pretty much, and also in insular Celtic communities. Just beautiful, beautiful leatherwork, again, as well as forging quality. Excellent sewing on the handle, and I honestly got this for an excellent deal. A bargain, truly. I mean, the detail is incredible on this. Just a perfect, perfect knife. And this style of knife, again, would have carried over into the medieval period. The loop on the sheath will not fit around the belt, obviously, but the thing about Celts and also Germanic communities is that they used sashes. Now, the sashes they would have used looked similar to, Baltic sashes. They weren't exclusively used by Balts or other Northern European communities like Scandinavian Iron Age peoples. They were also used by Hallstatt communities, very similar looking sashes that would have gone around the main belt and ran through something like a sword scabbard or knife sheath. I do not have a sash yet. I'm not going to events or anything, so I don't really need a 100% complete impression yet. But when the demand calls, that will probably be the next thing I get. So this is just a perfect, perfect knife. This is exclusively for this impression. I do not use this in the outdoors. I don't use it for anything except for display, because I want it to stay in the condition that it is. Finally, the last item on the list. The sword. Now, this is a cheap sword. I'm not going to lie. As you can see, the scabbard doesn't even line up correctly to the hilt and the bottom of the blade. Nonetheless, the hilt and the overall length of the sword is quite accurate to, your average Celtic longsword that you would have seen throughout the Iron Age. And, I got it from Cult of Athena. Again, not a high-end sword in the slightest, but I wasn't prepared to drop something like $700 for a quality reproduction of an Iron Age Celtic sword. I'm just not that dedicated. So, I'll just remove it from the scabbard here in a minute, and we can have a look at the blade. But before I show you the blade, here is the end of the scabbard. Even though it's not very well made, it's still a decent example of what your more basic Celtic scabbard from antiquity would have looked like. You had your more basic ones like this, and you had your incredibly detailed ones that would have belonged to especially wealthy people. Swords would have belonged to more wealthy people in general. It's an expensive item. Same thing goes for up into the Viking Age. But especially wealthy people would have had highly detailed, beautiful scabbards. And I will show you at the end of the video what highly detailed Celtic scabbards would have looked like in a book that I own. Here is the blade. It's not too bad. You even had the option to have a sharpened blade. I wouldn't dare use this low end of a sword practically. I know that's pretty harsh, but if this was sharpened, I would not swing this at anything. I, of course, chose the dull option. It's cheaper, and I don't need a sharpened sword. I'm honestly not too disappointed with the quality of the blade itself. So as promised, here are examples of beautiful, highly detailed scabbards from the Celtic Iron Age. Both of these are found amongst insular Celtic communities, the far left being from Ireland. This is a bronze scabbard, and the one in the center being from England. It's made of iron. And lastly, an illustration of an Irish sword in a highly detailed scabbard, which apparently was bronze, but they don't have a photo of it. All three of these are from the pre-Roman Iron Age. Here are some examples of detailed scabbards from mainland Celtic communities. To the far right here is one from Serbia. You have some vegetal designs and a dragon in the center, which scholars tend to call everything they can't really identify as being from the real world a dragon. So, in reality, it looks mostly like a pony or a horse with exaggerated ears or something coming from the head. Everything I've been showing is from this book. In writing, it's an okay book, but it's mainly excellent as a pictorial reference for Celtic Iron Age art. So that is all, my friends. Thank you for watching my video on this Celtic Iron Age impression. Hail our strong, courageous, honorable forebears. See you later.